In the final saga of Jujutsu Kaisen, we would see majority of our heroes battle against Sukuna with everything they had over multiple chapters and eventually overcome him, ending the cycle of curses and allowing our heroes to live the rest of their lives in peace and not really have to deal with any more threats that would require them to become stronger over the series, such as the disaster curses, Kenjaku, or Sukuna, but instead focus on creating a more peaceful world where all sorts of people can become Jujutsu sorcerers without being seen as expendable pieces of trash just to be exploited. All of Jujutsu society has changed and the final chapter shows us this, but I have to ask, if Yuji continued to train and be battle hardened the same way Gojo did for 10 years after the events of the hidden inventory arc, would he have surpassed him in strength? In this video, I intend to give my best answer to this question through examining the growth rates of each character, their overall strength, their attitudes toward training, and just do a lot of analysis and scaling combined. If you enjoy content such as this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to help the channel out. And now, let's get into it. To truly answer this question, we need to establish just how strong Gojo was, as we do need a benchmark. To understand the gap that Yuji would need to close, let's take a look at Gojo's strength, starting from his early days in the hidden inventory arc and how he developed into the powerhouse that we saw in the story. This story arc would begin with Gojo and his best friend Geto taking on a mission to protect the star plasma vessel with the utmost confidence due to their strength as the strongest. Due to the constant pressure from two different organizations trying to take the head of the vessel, Gojo was forced to stay awake for 3 days straight with his ability constantly active, weakening him over time. In the moment that the mission was believed to be complete and Gojo would deactivate his technique, he would be impaled by the sorcerer killer, Toji Fushiguro, beginning their battle as the others retreat to get the vessel to safety. Gojo and Toji do go back and forth for a bit, but their first round ends pretty fast as Toji manages to fake out Gojo and clean up shop with a weapon that Gojo did not and could not prepare for. The two have a rematch soon after, with it being revealed that Gojo was able to come back due to learning reverse curse technique at the brink of death, and with this discovery came two new techniques, red and purple. Once the two would engage, Gojo would win fairly easily as he had a technique that Toji did not and could not prepare for, this being the previously mentioned purple, with a nice helping of karma. So thankfully it's easy to estimate Gojo's level around this time, as it's been outright stated that Toji and Maki toward the end of the series were on the same exact level of strength. But with Gojo being exhausted and still managing to beat him as fast as he did, we can say that he's a good bit above his level, but we do need to take into consideration that Toji did have his judgment clouded during the rematch, and we would find out during the Sakurajima colony arc that this does have a huge impact on the battle capabilities of those such as Maki and Toji. So I'm not gonna say that Gojo by the end of the hidden inventory arc is beating Toji as easily as he did under normal circumstances, but I think there's still a gap. After this arc, Gojo would become much stronger over the next 10 years as he's matured, trained a lot, and just became an adult. And we would see the ceiling of his power in his 13 chapter battle against Sukuna, where he gave it everything he had. Gojo displayed masterful use of his curse technique, overwhelming strength, barrier techniques, and all the above, right? By the end of that battle, he would be defeated by Sukuna, but Sukuna would still accept him as a rival and claim him to be someone who cleared his skies, which to me confirms that he's certainly an equal to Sukuna despite his loss. There's also little things throughout this fight that confirms how strong Gojo is compared to the cast, as Hakari and Yuta basically said that one of his punches makes them throw up. So I think with all that, we have the Gojo benchmark established, and now we can ask, is Yuji going to be able to match this strength or even surpass it with 10 years of training? And to answer this, I think we need to analyze where Yuji currently stands in comparison to Teen Gojo and examining if he's capable of growing at a rate comparable to him. Unlike Gojo, who was already considered the strongest by his teenage years, Yuji's progression has been a bit more unconventional, as he went from a complete novice to somebody who can stand against Sukuna in a relatively short span of time. As we see in the final arc, Yuji steps to Sukuna one last time while being assisted by many other sorcerers such as Higuruma, Yuta, Maki, Choso, and more. This giving him even a better chance at combating this calamity that was already weakened by Gojo himself. But I think what's most important to focus on is Maki's participation against Sukuna, as she's an equal to Toji and can allow us to somewhat gauge Yuji's level of strength by comparing his performance to hers against Sukuna. We see that throughout the fight, Maki is able to contend with Sukuna one-on-one and alongside the others. She is considered to be one of the heavy hitters alongside Yuji, Yuta, and Hakari after all. But due to Yuji's ability to weaken Sukuna through his strikes and most of the strategies revolving around Yuji in the first place, he was able to perform much better than her and pretty much everybody else. Yuji, of course, just lasted way longer throughout the raid than Maki did too. But does this mean that he's way more powerful than her? Of course not, because again, Yuji had the ability to weaken Sukuna throughout the raid, and not only this, he has way more potency when it comes to regeneration and essentially unlimited endurance. I think comparing and evaluating their strength relative to one another judging by the raid itself is a bit unfair, but with context and understanding that Yuji had a lot of help throughout this raid, we can understand that Yuji is closer to Maki and the other heavy hitters in strength than it seems. He's also the protagonist as well, so of course he's gonna get a pretty good showing compared to the other characters. There's also the narrative jamming the heavy hitter things into our heads, and honestly, as much as people like to argue about it, the four sorcerers are extremely close in power. So with that, we can say Maki and Yuji are close, and since Maki equals Toji, we can put Yuji closer to Toji's level of strength rather than Team Gojo. And now we can come to the verdict that Yuji has a bit more to climb than Gojo did at the time he was a teenager, as he's starting at a weaker level of strength. But honestly, the gap between these two and end of series Gojo is so massive that it honestly doesn't matter much. There are also other things to consider. For example, Yuji's growth rate and his attitude for the next 10 years as a sorcerer. So for the sake of the video, we'll be saying that Yuji's placed under the same circumstances that Gojo was. There will be other powerful evil sorcerers still around, corrupt societies, dangerous curses still present and spawning, and things of that nature. I did want to make this clear before we continued, as Yuji will need some kind of reason to continue training in this thought experiment. So as we know, Yuji's entire goal as a sorcerer was to help people in any way that he can, due to the curse given to him by his grandfather. Curses like Nanami pushing him to quote unquote take it from here and carry the baton of all the Jujutsu sorcerers who have fell before him. Not only this, but Yuji displayed insane growth after that 1 month time skip before the Shinjuku Showdown. He won't be under the same life or death conditions again, but it does display his capability to grow if need be. If Yuji believes that he does need to surpass Gojo in strength in the next 10 years to pursue his purpose of protecting everybody, I believe that he's more than capable of carrying this out. I also want to point out that Yuji is someone who is more than willing to take any mentorship that he can get, which would do a lot for him. He isn't like Gojo who just sees things and can replicate it instantly, so him getting actual mentorship is an option in this thought experiment. Lastly, Yuji is a character who has indomitable will. Sukuna made this certain. If Yuji has to get something done for the sake of everybody around him, he more than likely will, and he wouldn't slack or give up over the 10 years. So does Yuji have the character, attitude, and mental fortitude to train non-stop until he reached Gojo's level of strength? I believe that he certainly does. I also think we should consider Yuji's talent. We need to remember that the Shinjuku Showdown was Yuji's 4th month as a sorcerer, and in his battle against Sukuna, he managed to display almost every single form of Jujutsu except for Curse Technique Reversal and Domain Amplification. Yuji was even able to use self-imposed binding vows to reinforce his technique. A lot of this is attributed to Sukuna inhabiting his body, but hey, Yuji has the blueprint to becoming the strongest sorcerer in history, and he's only following it. Yuji, on top of his cursed energy, also sports a superhuman body. And we know that makes a huge deal in exponentially increasing your strength, as we see that due to Miguel being a brother, his physical strength is higher than most. As Yuji grows into a full-fledged adult, his cursed energy will only become much more powerful due to his physical body maturing. Yuji also has 2 extremely flexible and powerful curse techniques that support his fighting style, and the ability to almost draw the Black Flash at will, forcing awakenings if need be. Yuji is almost a character from a fan fiction at the end of the series with how loaded he is with abilities and options for battle. There's also many moments throughout the series that imply that he is more than capable of matching Sukuna's power at some point, whether it be through his Black Flash streaks where Sukuna asks if Yuji intends to climb up to his level, or Gojo's belief in Yuji as a sorcerer. At this point, I can say that Yuji without a doubt has the talent to reach those Gojo levels of strength, and as he grows, he'll be able to master all of his techniques and have endless options for combat, allowing him to be even more flexible than the likes of both Sukuna and Gojo. All in all, If the world of Jujutsu Kaisen forced Yuji to continue to grow and combat the cycle of curses for another 10 years, I'm almost certain that he would have reached the level of Gojo. Yuji's fortitude, willingness to grow, dedication, foundation, and all of the abilities that he possessed would certainly allow him to do so, although it is a tall ask. But again, this dude went from a grade 3 bum to a special grade sorcerer able to rival Yuta Okkotsu in 4 months. Reaching Gojo's level in 10 years wouldn't be something I'm against betting on. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.